Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So I am Jeff Scheibels, a senior principal consultant here at Nova Module. I've been doing NetSuite consulting for around 10 years, doing everything from NetSuite implementations, optimizations, uh, integrations using Celigo, and also suite billing related projects. Joining us today is Rachel Enrico. Rachel's CFO at Snappy, and welcome to our webinar, Rachel. And would you like to briefly introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Rachel Failer. I'm with Snappy. We are a corporate gifting tech company headquartered in New York. We partnered with Nova and Celigo earlier this year to integrate Salesforce and NetSuite, and that is what I'm here to talk to you about today.
Thank you, Rico or Rachel. And as mentioned, we have Rico from Celigo. Rico, would you like to briefly introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, thanks for having us here. Very happy to be part of this Nova Module webinar. My name is Rico Andrade. I have the global partnerships here at Celigo, and been a long time Celigan, been here for 8 years, and have worked with Nova Module just as long. They've been one of our longest standing, biggest partners. So looking forward to share what we do in a minute here.
Great. So no, Nova Module, just really quick, we're a B2B technology company helping businesses use cutting edge expertise and innovation solutions to grow and scale, based in Oakland, California. And we're proud to be an official partner of NetSuite and Celigo for many, many years. And then, Rico, would you like to talk a little bit about Celigo?
Yeah, so Celigo is today one of the largest and most important iPaaS integration platform companies in the world. We have over 5,000 customers who are using us to integrate and automate business processes across all types of applications, from small companies to enterprise companies around the world, from simple processes to very complex processes and with very heavy data loads. This is Celigo has really progressed, from fairly humble roots in the NetSuite ecosystem, actually doing the integration we're going to be talking about today, the Salesforce NetSuite integration, to today being an agnostic platform that is the #1 rated iPaaS on G2, visionary in the Gartner Magic Quadrant. And that's on top of us being NetSuite's largest global partner. So we were partner of the year last year. We have more NetSuite customers than any other ISV vendor. And most companies are using us to integrate between NetSuite and other applications because we have some, not only have we found a really intuitive UI that is very powerful, but enables you to do 95% of the work in a fairly intuitive interface, but has all the cutting edge technology that you would need, but also there's a pre-built functionality and very NetSuite specific functionality that's built right into Celigo, which helps with the integration process.
Great. And if we go to the next slide, I believe we have this one about
Yeah.
Celigo
So
platform.
yeah. So with Celigo, this is just a general summary of what can be done with Celigo today. So Celigo, like I mentioned, is a powerful platform that allows you to integrate basically any application, hundreds of thousands of different applications together, and automate the business processes in a fairly low-code UI interface, but with all the development tools that's needed. And so it can be application integration. It could be EDI integration between trading partners. We have excellent capabilities with API management, API building. There's analytics and data pipeline. And now also we've had a front row seat into the AI revolution as data. There's no AI strategy without an integration strategy. So that's been the most exciting part in the last year or so is the growth of AI use cases that we've seen on our platform. One thing I do note is that we have in quite a bit of AI assistance, especially as you're talking about managing errors and maintaining the integration in the long term. We have functionality, for example, that automatically identifies when an error happens, identifies what the resolution is, and executes on the resolution without human intervention. 95% plus of the time. So the way that we approach the integrations is there's the platform where you can do all types of integrations that you need, but also to keep accelerating the integration time, we have pre-built flavors of integrations between integration template, which is very configurable and customizable, to the integration app, which is the cream of the crop of what an integration experience should be. And it's based off of the learnings of thousands of customers in our case with the Salesforce NetSuite integration, where we maintain the integration itself and provide the best practices, and where it can take 85% of the use cases straight out of the box, and then if you need to customize, it's based on the platform, and so you can expand those use cases. So as an example of how that works, we can go to the next slide. These are the flows that exist in the Celigo Salesforce NetSuite integration app. And this is the integration that started Celigo, and the company built itself around. And so with the Salesforce NetSuite integration, we've literally seen every use case you can possibly imagine. And so it's not just the ones that you see here, but we're talking about CPQ, we're talking about, let's say, nonprofits doing pledge to donor, customizations and so on. It might change if you are a product company or if you are a product with subscription. But there is a set of flows that we'll demonstrate today that are essentially that you start at as a best practice. And so essentially, this is based off of the learnings of many of our customers, and it's also something that even NetSuite sells our integration on their paper because it is the standard in terms of how to do the Salesforce NetSuite integration. But again, you don't have to go with what's out in the box. The platform itself was built for expansion and customization for use cases well beyond just these two applications. So love to talk about it a little bit more. So I'll pass it back to you guys.
Thank you, Rico. So some of the challenges that we face, and Rachel, can you speak to some of those challenges? We have like 4 listed here, but I know that there was some things more detailed.
Yeah, absolutely. So really our problem statement was that we needed to transition quickly from manual error-prone billing processes to automated scalable ones in anticipation of rapid growth beginning in Q4 of this year. So our goals were to eliminate as many manual touch points as possible, give our teams time to focus on selling and collections, and ultimately deliver a more reliable and seamless billing experience for our customers. And previously, NetSuite and Salesforce didn't communicate with each other at all, which was a major issue given that they are 2 of our most critical systems. And as a result, our team had to bill subscription and bulk gift orders manually, which not only slowed down revenue recognition and cash collection, but also introduced the risk of data entry errors. And manual billing also pulled our billing team away from their primary focus, which was cash collections. And at the same time, our sales team lacked visibility into when their deals would be billed. And that led to very frequent back and forth with the billing team and additional time lost on both sides. And because that subscription billing was entirely manual, there could be several days between a deal closing and a subscription being created. And at the time, our billing platform didn't allow backdating of subscriptions. So sellers often didn't know when a start date or renewal date for a subscription would be unless they reached out to the billing team or dug through invoices themselves. So, another critical gap was the absence of seller data in NetSuite. So when the billing team had questions on an account or needed to contact a client for collections, they had to log into Salesforce, which was another system that brought them outside of NetSuite, and manually look up the record.
Okay, thank you for that insight. If we go to the next slide, as once those challenges were identified, it was looking for possible solutions. involving answering questions like how do we orchestrate the data between the two systems? And we knew there was one piece still needed, and that's where Celigo comes in to be that middleware to help orchestrate the data between Salesforce and NetSuite. It also gave us a way to automate and standardize the process, and also, like it was mentioned, giving that the faster turnaround for when the deal closed to when the subscription was created. If we go to the next slide, um, we have a little bit about the architecture with how Celigo is in the middle. Rico, would you like to talk a little bit about how Celigo sits in between the two systems?
Yeah, so the way that Celigo works is that we have built a bundle between NetSuite and Celigo that bypasses the main APIs on the NetSuite side, because if you just use the APIs, you're somewhat limited in terms of what can be done. And so with our bundle that we've developed over the last 10 years, you have all sorts of custom functionality that gets in there that enables us to do things like, full use of the safe searches, dynamic lookups, suite script work, webhooks, concurrency controls. And so so Celigo is basically, that's how we're making the calls on the NetSuite side and what allows us to do all sorts of custom functionality. And then on the Salesforce side, we also have, in that case, it is a general API connection, but it's sufficient for us to be able to do all the advanced functionality that sits between the two applications.
Thank you, Rico. So now we'll go to the next slide and go through the flow that we created to handle syncing all of the data. Here you have some of the key parts to the flow. Rachel, will you tell us how this flow? Well, no. Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm happy to speak to, what we came away with, and then Jeff, if you want to get into the technical aspect. So ultimately, what we designed with Nova and Celigo led us to automated billing. So now our subscription and bulk gift orders are generated automatically in NetSuite as soon as the opportunity is closed in Salesforce. So that eliminates manual steps and reduces billing delays, which was one of the key things that we wanted to come away with. Additionally, we now have improved visibility and data traceability. So key NetSuite data, including invoices, payments, credit memos, refunds, are now synced back into Salesforce, which gives sellers a complete real-time view of their client's financial activity. And that was another area where they were, constantly reaching out to the billing team to gain visibility into that previously, and now they have it at their fingertips in their system of record, which is Salesforce. We've also synced invoice PDFs back into Salesforce, so sellers can easily download that and share it with clients. That helps support our collections effort and any customer inquiries on their bills. The other thing that we were able to achieve was end-to-end traceability. So now each NetSuite invoice includes the Salesforce opportunity ID, and each Salesforce opportunity includes the corresponding NetSuite invoice number. So that two-way linkage provides clear audit trails and simplifies month-end reconciliations to ensure that every opportunity is accurately billed. And the last thing I'll speak to is that we have a very complex hierarchy configuration, and Nova was able to successfully navigate that parent-child hierarchy and deliver a customized solution. So while we close opportunities at the child level in Salesforce, we wanted subscription invoices billed at the parent level in NetSuite. So that we were able to not only accomplish this, but we also were able to sync our usage invoices in NetSuite that are actually billed at the grandchild level back to the child record in Salesforce. So this achieved the data rollup that we needed for accurate reporting and hierarchy management. So we were really impressed with that design because it definitely got a little bit complicated with the different hierarchies and setting up the mapping to be configured the way that we needed it to be. So Jeff, I'll turn it over to you to, maybe speak a little bit more to kind of the technical solution aspects.
Yeah, so if we go to the next slide, this is high level overview of the sequence of events where we're looking for closed won opportunities in Salesforce, applying mapping and the business logic in Integrator IO to make sure everything's mapped. We're pulling the correct customer account, and then creating all the related records with regards to suite billing, such as the billing accounts, the price plans, the subscriptions itself, adding in all the lines, and then also writing back the invoice um, number, not the ID. So that way it could be easily referenced in Salesforce. And then the great thing is we didn't have to build any error handling because Celigo has a really good error management solution built in to see those errors and have a really good dashboard for that. So as far as errors that could come up, have a great way to manage all of those. The last step, if we go to the next slide, was syncing back the start and end date, which this is a kind of a unique requirement. Typically, what we see is the start and end dates are on the Salesforce side, and they're used when creating the subscription in NetSuite. Um, Rachel, would you like to talk a little bit about the start and end dates
Yeah,
in
sure.
that requirement?
So as I spoke to before, because of the billing system that we were using previously, we didn't have a perfect match between opportunities closing and the subscription start date. So we really wanted to sync back the subscription start dates that we had on record back into Salesforce so that sellers had a record of this and could, download this information, know when the renewals are coming up, and start that client engagement. So that was, example of another custom solution that Jeff was able to design for us just to, again, enhance the visibility that sellers had access to and reduce the back and forth between the sales and the billing team. So that's been something that's really helpful for us and has, really enhanced our renewal effort with our clients.
Great. And then the next slide, we have some benefits and outcomes. And Rachel, what are some of the biggest outcomes that Snappy's realized since going live with the integration, and how has it allowed the company to grow?
Sure. So I'd say overall, this implementation has really marked a turning point of us moving from a startup style way of operating to a much more automated and mature way of running the business. By streamlining our processes, we've accelerated both revenue recognition and cash collection, which gets money in the door faster. We've also made our billing and financial syncing completely no touch and highly accurate, setting up automated infrastructure that's ready to scale just in time for the 30% growth that we're currently seeing as a business. And I'd also say our billing practices are now standardized, which has significantly reduced the back and forth between the sales and the billing team and created a much smoother workflow. As I alluded to before, the billing team has gained valuable time back in their day, allowing them to focus on higher value work like targeted cash collection efforts. And having seller data in NetSuite has really strengthened our collection process, enabling better coordination, more informed decision making, and by linking our primary sources of record, we've really improved overall data integrity and visibility. Ensuring that everyone across the organization is working from a single accurate source of truth, which was not a concept that existed before this integration. So, it's been a huge change in the way that we've operated. And, like I said, it was so important that we got this done before we started seeing the growth that we're currently seeing in a company, because it would have been, really hard for us to provide the level of service that we wanted to with customers and the billing experience that we wanted to with customers without having this kind of solution in place.
Great. Um, okay, I'd like to bring Rico back for the next slide for kind of lessons learned and best practices. We did hear that it gave more visibility into subscriptions, into invoicing, and that. Rico, for other companies considering a Salesforce NetSuite integration, what are some of the best practices, or rather leading practices, you would recommend?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things is number one, don't try to reinvent the wheel. I think many companies make the mistake of um, trying to trying to build extremely customized processes. In some cases, they might be migrating from a legacy process or an on-prem process that it has existed for many years, and they've tried to mirror it in a cloud environment. And we hear this being said many times is that NetSuite. One of the best things about NetSuite is that it's extremely customizable, and one of the worst things about NetSuite is that it's extremely customizable. But the fact is that chances are is that these processes have been done before, at least to some level, and so it's ideal to look at what exists out there and try to leverage what's out of the box, and so with the integration apps are a great example of that. See if you can adapt your processes to leverage as much of what's out of the box as possible, because that's what's going to be supported, and then look at how that needs to be adapted and customized to your, to fit your own unique business needs, that will always happen. But at least don't try to, use that opportunity to, as an opportunity to revisit your own processes and your own, to see if there's opportunity for improvement on that front. Another thing that we often see as well is that don't discount the management of the integration in the long term. So oftentimes we just think about building it, like, hey, we need to get it up. And we forget about that integration, it involves many systems, and it can get complex, even if the tools are simple. And so it's not something that you always just want to set it and forget it. It's important to be able to see what's going on in the long term. And oftentimes we see that the life of the integration has a longer, it becomes more important than just the building of the integration itself. And so it's really important that you have the right tools to be able to have the regular data monitoring, the governance, the error management, so that when issues arise, you have full visibility into what's happening with the data, and you have a mechanism to be able to change, fix, adapt, and in some cases, have it automatically fixed for you. But that's where really, using a platform solution really helps a ton. It's in that long-term maintenance and ROI and adaptability of the integration. And that finally, if you think about business processes in general, the best practice is to build your business around the ERP, right? Because the ERP has the key business records for you. It's got the financials, it's got customer data, it might have product data, and so on. And so you want to make sure that your entire business is built around it, that your processes are around it. Your tech stack is literally built around the ERP. And so if that is going to be a long-term strategy, as your company grows, there's going to be, you're going to have new departments, you're going to have new, processes adapt and change. You're going to have new applications that are going to be used. Everybody is always going to need data from the ERP. The ERP is always going to need data from everybody, expense management and so on. And so you need to make sure that as you grow, you have a mechanism to be able to incorporate the entire business around the ERP. So that's why it's really important that any long-term ERP strategy goes with a commensurate integration strategy. And so usually a Salesforce NetSuite tends to be the very first major integration use cases that companies do, because it's so bottom line revenue impacting. Because it's the quote to cash process, which is the most important business process in any organization. And so you want to make sure that you're setting yourself up, that you're not stopping there, that you have a mechanism then that if you have to adapt it, if you have to grow it, you have to add recurring billing, if you have to, add data warehousing, if you want to add some agentic decision making, or routing or something like that, that you have a mechanism to be able to do that in the long term in a place that you can monitor those integrations. And so really that's where really looking at a platform solution versus just, a point-to-point or individual project custom build becomes, really pays off in the long term and helps you accelerate growth.
Okay. Thank you so much for that insight, Rico. We're going to move on to our question and answer portion. While we wait for questions from the audience, and Rachel, would you like to talk about some of the lessons learned?
Yeah, overall, I'd say this implementation really marked our turning point, moving from startup style operations to a much more automated and mature way of running the business. So by streamlining our processes, we've accelerated both revenue recognition and cash collection, both of which get money in the door faster. We've also made our billing and financial syncing completely no touch and highly accurate, setting up automated infrastructure that's ready to scale just in time for the 30% growth that we are currently seeing as a business. Our billing practices are now standardized, which has significantly reduced the back and forth between the sales and billing teams and created a much smoother workflow and ultimately a better billing experience for our customers. Um, in addition to that, the billing team has gained valuable time back in their day, which has allowed them to focus on higher value work like targeted cash collection efforts. And on that note, having seller data directly in NetSuite has really strengthened our collections process, enabling for better coordination, more informed decision making, and also by linking our primary sources of record, we've improved our overall data integrity and visibility, and ensured that everyone across the organization is working from a single and accurate source of truth. And I will say that after you go live with the integration, you'll immediately wish that you had done it sooner. This was actually our third NetSuite integration implementation with Nova and Celigo, and I've felt that way about each one of them. There really was not a significant time investment on our part, and Jeff, you really did the heavy lifting there. So the investment, really wasn't even something that took us away from the other things that we were working on, which was great. And I'd also say that the peace of mind that it's given us has been huge, knowing that our billing runs automatically, without the risk of data entry errors or with, the stress of heavy billing periods when team members are busy or even out on vacation. And then, lastly, I'd say that most importantly, this investment has allowed us to reallocate talent toward bringing cash in the door, which has made the investment pay for itself very quickly.
Okay, thank you so much. The other question we have, and maybe Rico, you could help answer this, is how can AI services within the integration platform further enhance automation and insights for businesses like Snappy?
Yeah, I mean, AI opens up a ton of possibility, right? And So let me set up how people are thinking about AI, or are starting to use AI in a way that's super helpful. So one of them is to really provide complete visibility into what's happening with the customer, with the process, with a system, in a way that you can interface and ask natural language questions, and it'll respond, but based off of insights, right? So on the integration side, one of the things that's very common for us, let's say to extend this Salesforce NetSuite use case, and then you can leverage the integration platform actually to bring in data from many different systems. So for example, right, your tech stack might have Zendesk for ticket issues. It might have, or for customer support, it might be Jira for ticket issues. You have the financials in NetSuite. You have the subscription customer data, sales information inside of Salesforce. You may have product data, if you're a SaaS company that's coming from something like Splunk and so on, and you need to understand usage. And now all of a sudden you have a mechanism in which you can tie it to something like a Slack or a Teams, and where your team then can go in and literally ask questions about, what is the status of this customer, or Could I reach out, like what is opportunity for upsell on this? And, the AI will look at considerations such as, are they making full use of your product? Are there products that aren't being used that can be recommended? What's the status of, billing? And then it can also provide suggestions in terms of next steps. It can write, here's an email that you can send to this individual to address this issue, or perhaps propose an additional service and so on. So for some companies, it's been a real game changer because it just gives a full, true 360-degree visibility of what's happening with the customer base, and a lot of that information is based off of what's in NetSuite and what's inside of Salesforce. Another one that we see is just in terms of like, is there a place where you can add agentic decision making, where it's basically kind of replacing some human decision, that's happening in the place. And you got to start a little bit slow in there, because obviously when you're dealing with key, financial records and so on, you don't necessarily want to leave everything to AI yet, in case it makes mistakes. But there are some things that can be accelerated because the AI can provide a certain heuristic in terms of how to move forward, right? So, for example, we have customers who have inserted an agentic workflow into their emails, basically, so that based off of the information that's coming, let's say there's an email request that comes in, and they may be coming to a general mailbox, or it may be coming to an accounting, AP, type information. Instead of having someone that's like always there, having to make decision exactly how to categorize and where it should go next. This is an area where you can put an agent in there who can make high-level decisions in terms of who's the right person to address this particular issue. And in some cases, it might be related to support, or accounts receivable, or accounts payable, and so on. And it's a low risk agentic. It saves a lot of effort because it's happening automatically, but it's also low risk because if it gets routed to the wrong place, which is generally unlikely, it's easy to correct, and have that sent to the right place. So and that, from that starting point, you can start getting these flows, more and more complex, and then eventually, you get some really fun things such as AI, natural language enabled BI, where you can literally just ask a question based off of the data that's available in these applications, and it'll come up with a report on it'll automatically build the underlying query, and then it'll build the report off of that, and you can do some very, very quick analysis on it. So it's very exciting where it's going, and AI can really help extend some of these integrations in a whole new way that we've never seen before.
Yeah, definitely exciting. A lot of exciting things happening with AI right now, and definitely a lot of different ways you can incorporate that into integration flows and into business processes. I'm not seeing any other questions from the audience, so I think we'll wrap. If you're interested in doing an integration assessment, you can scan this QR code, or email us to book a 30-minute session to do an integration assessment and identify what opportunities there are and what next steps that would fit your company. I just want to thank Rachel and Rico for joining us today. It's definitely been very informative, and hope to be able to do another one of these webinars with both of you, and looking forward to future projects.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jeff. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. I know we're doing more in the near future. And also thank you, Rachel, for being a Celigo customer. So it's nice to hear the stories of using Celigo.
All right. Thank you, everyone. That concludes our webinar for the day.